Oh,
Well, hopefully it'll work. Hopefully at least you got the phone working.
yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chat from the Deep, our weekly live stream post-session discussion. We talk about what happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 17. Almost old enough to vote here in Call from the Deep. So if you don't watch that session yet, please go do that now because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM, Eric, and joining me we have Gottwald's player Chris.
Hello.
So orange. Max player Raymond.
Hello.
Joining us from the phone, which I appreciate.
Eric's.
So
Of the Eric's, just like a cat with a toy.
it is just so fucking distracting, man. I don't know what to tell you. I've never seen you in this orange before in my life. I can't be the only one distracted by it. And it's not even your fault because you say it's not that orange, but
it's not orange at all. It is red. It is red. You've seen
sorry.
this t-shirt before. You've seen this particular, like, the book cover with, like, it's like the red old Dungeons and Dragons book. It's red.
Hang on, I'm still fixing the. Let's turn this on there. There we go. You're so high up on your camera. I was trying to even you out, but there's like no clearance on your head, so it's not working.
Oh yeah.
The angle of my phone.
No, you're fine. It's the orange bastard I'm trying to fix. You're
Well,
not
it's
fine.
stream,
Your
right?
phone's like half cut off, but I don't
Yeah.
know how much I want to adjust yours. See what I can do.
Right.
You're not normally on your phone. There we go. I'm gonna spend this whole chat just fixing everybody's webcam, so just deal with it. It just cuts off right there. So yeah, this was. I don't know how much I want to talk about it. The tricky situation here is this: you're going into a dungeon crawl basically, but
Right.
you just had a lot to do in terms of your resources and your adventuring day, and I'm very conscious of that, and I try to pace things out okay. And I obviously wanted to not make this a big long slog of a dungeon crawl. And that's why it kind of felt like, I guess I'm getting ahead of things because we also did the little non-Theater of the Mind stuff beforehand, but that's why I wanted to do all these little pocket battles instead of these big long
Oh yeah.
bigger fights with like armies of dudes or something. But anyway,
war battles that are slightly easier.
Yeah, so the beginning of the session, as we teased last time, was to end the harbor attack, the docks under siege. I still broke my webcam there, didn't I? Yep. Shoot. And get you guys to go into the city for this new threat. Which was basically like Kalnar telling you, hey, we're done here. You can go.
Yeah.
Which you guys picked up on, and that was good. And I gave you guys a bunch of potions because I realized, oh, yeah. And part of my worry too was coming off of that big battle where like so many of you were very drained and injured, and I definitely want to give you all those potions, give you a chance to short rest. I even give Savra like another arcane recovery because I'm looking at going, gosh, they still have like this whole other section to do.
Yeah.
And this has been a pretty big adventuring day for you guys.
It has, yeah.
And
I forget
well,
what the yeah.
I was gonna say one thing I can talk about, as scripted in the book, there's a pretty big battle encounter on the way to on the streets.
On the way to the temple.
On the way to the temple, yeah. The ghost ship, I can just talk about this because we're past it. The ghost ship animates a bunch of zombies from like a graveyard, and the zombies come out and start terrorizing people and attacking them. And initially I was like, okay, it's pretty cool, but I don't really want to use zombies. I thought maybe I can use it as a skill challenge and just have them deal with the zombies without fighting them. Or maybe I can use some other interesting undead. I was talking about this last week, and then we had the session last week, and then I came on this week and was like, all right, I don't want to do basically anything that's going to drain their resources because they got so hammered from last week's session. Like they're all hurting. They've spent a lot of their stuff. Obviously they can short rest, but still, I just want to get them to this next area as soon as possible because I know this area is going to have some battles and already drain their resources. So normally I would be pretty excited about, throwing some kind of unique situation at you guys, but this was I had already thrown so many like events and things. It just felt like pacing wise, we didn't need anything to happen there. So instead, I even thought about like scripting some kind of things. I was like, you know what, let's just kind of play it by ear, let you guys, we'll just describe people in the streets and just kind of almost do like falling action from the previous major battle. So you guys could just kind of talk to people and I'll just describe, just montaging you guys to the next site, a chance to, just chat and have some dialogue before getting into this next area.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think we are at the like top end of what like the book would call like an adventuring day. I don't know like how many.
It doesn't happen very often. Yeah.
What's the number? I don't forget what the number is. Something like 5 encounters in a day.
Well,
something like that, and 2 short rests. I can't remember what the numbers were.
The thing is, you can define encounters as not necessarily a combat encounter, but something that challenges the party, has requires them to expend resources, which hit points is a resource.
Yeah.
But I didn't even have anything like that. Like it was just going to be like dialogue and stuff, like coming at you.
Right.
So. Yeah, so hopefully that ended up being too boring, I guess, for that first part, because it's tough to keep up the pacing. It was like I could make a chase sequence here with the ship, but I would literally, I was coming off that last session going, they kind of need a breather and just a chance to like, I don't know, just not do anything too crazy.
Yeah. I have a question though.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's one part that we thought, at least I was, and I think other people started to treat it like that way too, but I don't know that you were intending it for it to be that way. The temple, when we first got inside the temple, and you described a bunch of stuff going on, and was that supposed to be like a skill check sort of challenges sort of thing? Because I kind of thought you were describing like, oh, there's a person bleeding out, there's a fire, there was something else you said too, and I'm like, all right, these are problems we have to handle. But then it seemed like when we went to solve the fire, you were just kind of like, okay, yeah, you solved the fire, don't worry about it. Like it wasn't actually a skill check that you were looking for, or a challenge that you were looking for.
I mean, in order to do a skill challenge, I think you need to have pass, fail, and like grading scales of things happening. And I didn't really have any strict consequences for any of that stuff. It was just like, hey, do you want to you kind of just rely on your players, like, hey, just step up and do things, right? It's like I don't really want to gamify this more than I have to right here. So I'm not saying skill challenges are bad. There's definitely some good situations for them. But I feel like in this situation, it wasn't like, what's the fail state? Like, oh, that person ends up dying or something. You could, I guess. But again, we've come off all these things.
Well, that's what I thought was happening. I thought like the fire was going to like get bigger if we didn't deal with it.
Yeah. It was more just kind of background flavor. And then if you guys wanted to rush through and just like, oh, we ignore all, it was just kind of a chance for role playing, honestly.
Okay.
Or do you want to stop and save people and everything? Which I did award you guys inspiration for stopping and helping people.
That's true. Yeah. So I guess that was a reward for what we were doing.
Yeah. That was my only thought process for that. But otherwise, I would have allowed for whatever happening. I just didn't want to. I just wasn't gaming-ifying. I keep using that term, but yeah, like throwing challenges or checks at you guys throughout this whole first part, just because I knew we had just come off of a lot of shit, and then I knew we were going into a thing. I'm curious to know what you guys thought was coming up. Did you have any? Because I know that it feels like the ghost ship kind of comes out of nowhere, and I think I mentioned this last time. The ghost ship is what's scripted to attack Neverwinter, and that's the only thing that attacks Neverwinter. What I did is I combined attacks from different cities into one zone to make this huge multi-fronted, like a united force of all these different creatures attacking a single place. And I remember initially last week you were like, I wasn't even sure this ghost ship was like part of the attacking force, which is a fair assessment.
Yeah. As it is in the book, maybe you can't talk about this, but as it is in the book, like we came here because of the invasion from all these armies. In the book, like what gets us here for the ghost ship? If it's just the ghost ship.
Well, no, it's still. I guess that's a good question.
I mean, I get because what got us here for this was like on the island. We saw the like order to go invade Neverwinter. Like,
so that part's still
with just a ghost ship.
No, that part's still scripted as like, hey, we're attacking the change is we're attacking multiple cities with different forces, and the ghost ship is attacking Neverwinter, and like the Sahuagin are attacking Waterdeep or something. So it like splits it up that
so it
way.
becomes more of like a choose your own adventure. Like oh, there's 3 places being attacked. Which one do you want to go address?
Like a Storm
That kind
King's
of thing?
Thunder situation or something. Yeah. And then you deal with like the one threat, and this would in each area. And it's like the one threat, and so it's a much more scaled down, and it basically becomes each one kind of has like this style dungeon crawl too, where it's like they're all after something that's a dungeon crawl situation, and then there's obviously some fighting like when the streets are harbor. And then I was like, well, let's just combine all of that into one city, and then we turn into a much bigger cinematic climactic battle, but I'll still only use one of the dungeon crawl goal things that's happening, and I actually liked the one that was in Neverwinter's the best out of all 3.
Gotcha,
and it fit with my story really well. As you could tell, I was able to like pull Toril into it with pulling in and having this cool twist at the end about what's what your actual target is and what you're going after.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And then in terms of this dungeon, I think I actually kept it pretty similar to how it's written, with just basic skeletons. And it's not, thankfully.
I'm gonna say like it was a lot of little fights, which went very quickly, which I appreciate. That's the only way you do multiple. I feel like, well, we're only level 5, but like big fights take the whole session sometimes, right? So like these, I was impressed with how quickly we're getting through these little fights with just little dudes.
Little fights with little dudes, yeah, and yeah, it was that I knew it was going to be that going into it. It was like skeletons are really low level. You guys are 5th level. You guys have been through a lot, but you were able to short rest, kind of get your power back, and then I didn't expect this to take too much. Basically, it all comes down to this one kind of big fight, and it was just meant to kind of use up a little bit of resources and slow you guys down and just kind of tease what's going. But yeah, this, even though it looks like a big dungeon, there's actually not a lot going on inside. One thing I did change was there is a collapsed rubble there on the eastern side of that one room. You can clear the rubble, which you did, and you can actually go down into that tunnel and end up going around into the boss room from the tunnel, basically end up right there.
Oh,
I thought about letting you guys do that. Weirdly, as written, it was the priest is there with like 2 big burly Koatoas, and it's really scripted oddly. It's because the whole thing is written one way, and then it's like, oh, and if the undead pirates are here, then obviously there's these bad guys here, these bad guys here. But it mentions that the priest and the 2 Koatoa guys are like just waiting. 2 other ones that like bigger, stronger stat block are just like waiting in the tunnel, and it's written like, and they'll pop out like 2 rounds into combat with the boss fight or something. I was like, well, A, 2 rounds is a long time. He's just sitting there. And B, what if they go into the tunnel and just see those guys like waiting there, like ready to join the battle? Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. So I thought it'd be more interesting to move the priest to the rubble side and be like, no, he's trapped in there. And then that allows me to do some nice further context with having the NPC in the dungeon saying, hey, let me tell you a little bit more about what's going on, and maybe add a little bit of comic relief to the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
With the Murloc.
Good characters. The fishmen who were very talkative.
Chat had a fun point that they brought up where I was like, I don't know how the players will do this. Where they said, Eric, when you were in the underwater ship dungeon, the undead was your ally, and all the fish guys were the enemies. And now you're putting them in a situation where the undead are enemies and the fish guys are their allies. Are they going to immediately like cop to that and be on board? And I was like, I guess we'll find out. But so I'm curious what, from your point of view, what you thought was going down when you arrived and how you made those decisions.
I mean, maybe I'm not the right person to ask because, like, we never fought Koatoa before, though, right?
No, you have not.
Yeah, so I just know the difference between Sahuagin
well, look at you. So your character's just like, not, no, these are completely different kinds of fish people.
Maybe that is metagaming a little bit, but well, maybe not.
You would definitely be able. Even a layman could tell the difference between a fish person and a shark person, I think.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, initially, I was like, oh, I mean, they could be, villains. I don't know. There was something you did early on, like you had them try to talk to us or something, like right off the bat. Something like that. I don't remember what you did.
I
but
did,
It was
yeah.
like kind of like oh, they're trying to communicate, and they're being attacked by the people we're chasing. So
Yes.
immediately that kind of puts them on the good foot.
That was certainly a goal of mine, but I was still curious to see what your reaction would be like. Wait, we're down here in the vault, like there's a bunch of people that were, and then we're down here in these lower vaults, and now we're saving fish people. This is very odd.
Right,
and like the
right.
fish people
It
were
is
all the
odd.
enemies. Like what's going on?
Yeah.
So the confusion was
I
by
still don't know
design.
what's going on down
Yeah.
here. Yeah, that's fine, but I just.
Yeah, I've only
I
been.
mean, next session we'll test that even further because it sounds like we're fighting on the side of a tentacle monster of some kind.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's gonna go. But
Yeah, and I loved that I could tease more of it through Twirl. It's really great when I can use a player character's connection in some way to further draw them into like the main plot of what's going on. And
Right.
I was even going to start doing it 2 weeks ago. Reese wasn't here for that, but I was going to start teasing at the end of that session, and then I could obviously do it throughout this session pretty effectively.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there are no maps for any other stuff, so it's just this lower, which Heather was at one point like, should we have a map by now? And I was thinking like, I've gotten them this far without showing a map, and nobody said anything, and then she finally brought something up, and I was like, see, I know my players, they're going to need a map real soon.
Yeah. How much theater of the mind can you get away with?
Yeah, that much.
Basically, when you start describing
Danger
like,
elements.
and danger and enemies, then it's like, all right, you're moving beyond.
I need a map
now, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. It was tricky because none of the other stuff. It's just a few sentences in the book until you get here. So I'm like, well, like I gotta still theater the mind them like all the way here. I don't want to necessarily just literally teleport them to the temple at all these lower vaults. So I wanted to get through, all the danger and stuff that was going on. But no, I didn't have any of that set up as like skill challenges or stuff.
Yeah.
This map, by the way, if folks are wondering, is from the Ghosts of Saltmarsh Discord server. There's an entire subsection for Call from the Deep, and one of the channels is maps and resources, and this was one of the maps that was posted there. So it's just freely available on there. I think the user was GNUCHAN or something like that who posted it and made it on one of the map making websites. But that is it's the Ghosts of Saltmarsh Discord server, and then there's a Call from the Deep subsection, and there's a maps channel under all that. You can find this image because all the Call from the Deep maps and all the Ghosts of Saltmarsh maps are of course the shitty black and white nothing maps. So
yeah,
but this is an exact recreation. I copied and pasted the dynamic lighting from the shitty one and put it on top of this one and made just a few minor adjustments, and literally it was like 1 for 1. So huge plus on somebody just remaking this map completely. And
that's what I found with a lot of the. I don't know if they were black and white. Because I remember this because I saw, I don't know if it was Discord or onto YouTube where you mentioned Dungeons of the Mad Mage. That people have done the same thing with that. Where like the old original version of the maps, people have made really nice like recreations, 1-to-1 recreations that you can just plop in.
It's a big advantage and a big reason why I like to run the official material. And this is not technically, Call for the Deep is not a first party official campaign, Saltmarsh is, but it's popular enough, a major campaign from the DM's Guild that just enough people have made some nice colored maps where I don't have to try to fuck around with any of that. And I can do some maps. Now, there's still going to be areas where I'm going to have to come up with other map resources because they're not from any of those books. That's always been the case of campaigns we run.
Yeah.
But yeah, a big reason why I want to run established things and not just like straight up homebrew is because it's just the fucking maps. It's just easier to be able to find already existing resources for that and just make little adjustments as I need to. And I thought this was a good sized map. It was not very densely packed. It had some cool designs to it. I really liked the spiral staircase going into the water thing, and the whole, underwater dungeon is going to be a neat backdrop.
The underwater dungeon and like
the partial underwater, the exploration part was fine, and that's like, oh shit,
it's
when we get to
like
the end,
like a submerged labyrinth is almost the vibe I'm getting, and it's just kind of a neat setup. Yeah. It's like technically you could swim up 20 feet and be at the surface of the water, but if you're at ground level, it's all submerged. So and
honestly, that's going to be tough to try to figure out, is the elevation change, the underwater combat rules. It's all going to get a little wonky. So I'm glad we've got like a full session to figure out this big fight. But even as far as big boss fights go, this one's going to be unique because technically the biggest creature in the room may be your ally.
Right.
So it might not actually be that devastating of a huge battle, and it's the big target. So it's almost more of like you've got a protection mission versus a trying to defeat some big creature mission.
Mm-hmm.
But I did look at this pacing being like, all right, after we do the docks, which will take up a full session, which it did, I think 2 sessions to do, this is called the House of Knowledge. And yeah, I think it's going to fit out exactly because you guys made it all the way to basically the beginning of the boss fight. And then I really don't think this fight will take a full session. I guess we'll see.
Okay.
And then we can do falling action from that, I think.
Okay. Nice. Yeah.
Which I guess I tip my hat that this is the final part of it, but yeah, I don't plan on like
I mean,
stringing
makes
you guys
sense.
along for
Yeah.
another thing. Like at this point, I don't know how many.
Like I said at the beginning, like we're stretching the
Yeah,
limits.
count
of
it up.
one
How many
adventure
encounters
day.
have we done on one adventuring day, essentially?
3
Starting
on
from.
boats.
So we had
3 on boats, just
yes,
boat.
3 on boats, which was over one session.
One
or
on
2
harbor,
sessions?
that was a really big one.
One really big one on the harbor. Yep, it was a full session.
And then so that's 4. Now we're on 4. And then I guess the dungeon you could count as a 5th because it was pretty. They're all.
Well,
pretty
you could do
short.
individual if you want to do individual battles. You could, but yeah.
No, but I wouldn't count like all the individual skeleton fights tonight, and each individually. It'd be. Yeah,
I would maybe count all of those as one encounter. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I think.
So maybe that's 5, and then you go into a boss
Yeah.
fight that's like 6.
And then we're going into bypass at 6. Yeah. So yeah, it's the upper limit of what you do in a day.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially for spellcasters. Like marshals, the only thing I'm limited by now is that I'm out of hit dice. So
Yeah.
if we were to short rest again, it would do me no good.
Yeah.
But or it'd do me a little bit of good because I get some of my short.
I
rest
mean,
things
that's
back,
the
but-
secret to balancing. Spellcasters are so powerful in D&D, and I've read countless threads that people post about how powerful their spellcasters are, how they nuke everything, and it's
Yeah.
always the same problem where it's like you're letting your players long rest after like every fight or every other fight. So of course they're going to be able to just blast all those nukes and your marshal's going to fall behind. Versus if you actually have a full adventuring. Now this is not going to happen every single time, but you have a full adventuring day where suddenly I have to like give her like a mercy, like here's another arcane recovery because holy shit, there's been
Yeah.
you're only level 5, you got so many spell slots, and you have gone through all of them. And not necessarily at their
I'm
fault.
surprised you didn't do what we were discussing last week and just make it not like you giving her something, but throwing a potion of arcane recovery in the box.
I meant to, and I just fucking
Oh,
forgot.
okay,
I already had the I had the potions all
I
lined
mean,
up.
what you did was fine, but it was basically like an out of game solution
It
versus
was.
a like, oh, there's a potion in there.
Yeah, I meant to do that, and I realized at so I'll cop to that. I fucked up at the end. I realized I hadn't updated my potions at all, and I already posted them on there, and I was like, and we'll just let you do another arcane recovery.
There you go.
I forget for reasons.
For
But yes,
yeah.
that was part of my. I was gonna have her be able to heal up at least a little bit with
And I agree,
spell
Sylvan. That's a good way to describe it, like the marathon encounters, and it's kind of a video game thing they do sometimes too. It's like when you get to certain points in the story, like you go from fight to fight to fight to fight, like back to back.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to pace everything like that. I think
No, not everything.
it would
for
be
sure.
exhausting and not fun all the time. And sometimes it's fun for your players to be able to nuke things without really caring about having to, track the resources over many, many encounters.
Mhm.
But this was clearly a very climactic situation. It's been that way for several sessions, and it was,
Yeah.
the problem is the player side, they don't know how long it's going, right?
That's
like
fair.
for you guys, like
I don't think we could have ever guessed we'd be inside the city during this.
exactly, yeah. You're thinking, all right, we
Yeah.
made it to the docks. There's this big monstrous whale. This is going to be the climax right here, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, well, nope, I've got a whole other thing planned that's going to come out of
Another
left
thing.
field, which is why I feel like, all right, I got to make sure to give you guys like a potion infusion and
Right.
arcane recover, and make sure you're back on your feet, soldier, to do this one final area.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's been different, just running through a city with things to do, and coming from that battle and trying to sustain this level of pacing over weeks of real time
Yeah.
play is of course a challenge. I wouldn't want to do it much more than this for having this one like you're still have that adrenaline rush for.
How many sessions will this have been at the end? 5, 4, or 5?
Just this since you arrived in Neverwinter.
Yeah. Like starting with the boat, like starting with the Armada.
So Part 1 would have been the boat to Neverwinter, and then you did that first ship battle where you like tried to bump up against Tentrix and everything.
Yeah.
That was session 14. Session 15 was the 2 harbor battles, which was rescuing people from the ship and then doing the big Sawagan giant shark thing.
Session. Okay.
That was a different session. Session 16 was the dock battle last week.
Okay.
This was session 17, which is running across the city, getting into the temple, having some skirmishes. And then session 18 will be the finale within the temple. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, it'll take 5 sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been comparing this with folks who watch the crafting stream also with the spoilers for our Rhyme campaign. Chapter 4, which is the Chardalyn Dragon section, where it's also a city under attack, and you all are responding to how to save that. That obviously a different situation, but another thing that took like several sessions and had lots of like complications and things involved.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't fully go into everything yet because we haven't quite finished it, but I think I've covered.
We don't know what these pirates are doing. We don't know what these fish are doing. We don't know what the tentacle monster's doing. So we have questions.
Yeah, and I'll be able to inform a lot of stuff next week. I think I'm excited to dive into that. But it was a cool twist to pull off here, and it really fits very nicely with what's going on in the main plot and with Toril and everything. Is to have this little twist about what these undead pirates are here for and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else about session 17? Will be legal next week.
That's right.
It's exciting.
I like to bash me some skeletons.
You were fucking just. I mean, skeletons.
And they have what do you call it?
They have vulnerability to bludgeoning damage,
yeah.
so it's double damage. Without the double damage, I think you were still destroying them though. There was only one that you I think got because of the double damage. The rest of them, you were straight up doing 12 some damage, and a lot of them only had 9 or 10 hit points. They're
yeah.
I don't know if I just kind of rolled crappy, but yeah, they're not meant to last very long. They were just little doing things. It was just sheer numbers. Honestly, it's a numbers game.
Yeah, exactly.
And they didn't expect this kind of resistance.
Yep.
What's the choice of whiskey, Chris?
Tonight is I'm trying to remember which person gave this to me for my birthday.
I just spilled whiskey all over my pants.
Why did I say it that way? I sound like intimately excited about.
I just spilled whiskey all over my pants.
I don't like the way I sound in that clip.
I had to amplify. It's very quiet in the clip. It's funny. It's
maybe that's why it sounds like because I'm
you're
talking to myself.
Muttering
I'm muttering.
Okay. It's from the same one.
It's an up staircase, right?
Is that session? It's from the Forge of Fury.
Okay. It just sounds like I'm just whispering. I just spilled whiskey all over my pants. Okay. Don't get that close.
I don't know how relevant that soundbite will be, but it makes me laugh, so I featured it in there.
Yeah. It is Irish whiskey, Middleton, I believe, or Pendleton. No, Pendleton's a Scotch, I think. Middleton. I think it's I think it's my nieces. My brother gave this to me for my birthday.
Yeah, he got 4 bottles of Scotch for
Four
his
bottles of Scotch
birthday. Had to ship them all back. Man's got to be. Which you fucking bought a full bottle, and it's still sitting in my liquor cabinet.
I know, and it's gonna sit there for a while.
It's gonna. Well, yeah, until next time you come visit. Because I think you never even finished the other one that was in there too, and I don't fucking drink the thing.
I finished it this last time I was there.
Are you sure? That one that was in the smaller Doers, I think.
Oh, maybe I didn't finish that one.
It was very audacious, and you went and got one, and I was like, we barely touched it.
What was gonna happen? It was a surprise birthday party. If I know people were gonna bring me,
well, that's
whiskey
fair.
bottles,
That's fair.
I was all like I bought 3 of them. I was like, no, 2, just 2. One for my mom's place, one for your place, and then
that's
I was
true.
like,
and then everybody gets
I should have done any of this.
Man is stacked full of whiskey. All right, that will do it for this chat from the deep. Thank you to Chris and Raymond for joining me, and thank you to all the fans for watching. I'm Eric, and we will see you next time.
Bye.